All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are tackling the one question that is just burning up the crypto space right now. After that brutal crash, is the bottom finally in for Bitcoin? We're going to break down a really deep analysis that looks at this from every single angle to see if we can find an answer.
And it all starts with this number right here, 32.4%. That is a gut punch. In just over a month, that's the kind of drawdown we've seen from the all-time high. A move like that fast, it's enough to shake out pretty much everyone.
And, let's put some real dollars to that percentage because that's when it really hits home. We're talking about a drop of about $41,000 per coin. The sheer speed of this thing has been just breathtaking, and it's caused this cascade of liquidations and, let's be honest, widespread panic. So the big question is this the end of the pain, or is there more on the way?
Okay, before we dive into all the juicy data, just a quick but super important heads up. What we're doing here is explaining a piece of market analysis. This is absolutely not financial advice. Our goal is to break down the information for you so you're better equipped, but you have always got to do your own research. All right, let's go.
First up, let's talk about the one emotion that drives markets more than anything else, pure, unadulterated fear. And right now, oh boy, the sentiment out there is about as bad as it gets. But here's the thing, that can actually be a really powerful signal.
Just look at this number. The crypto fear and greed index is sitting at an 11. To put that in perspective, 100 is max greed, to the moon euphoria. 0 is absolute sheer terror. We are at 11. I mean, that is deep into what they call extreme fear.
And this gets us to a classic piece of market wisdom, which this analysis sums up perfectly. When the crowd is this panicked, it usually means that anyone who is going to sell on a whim, well, they've already sold. It's what's called capitulation, where all the weak hands get completely rinsed out of the market.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. History doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes, right? Look at what happened the last times we saw fear get this crazy. Back in March 2020, the index hit rock bottom, and what followed? A 20x rally. Then in November 2022, a similar reading marked the absolute cycle bottom at 15.5. So history is screaming that these moments of just peak panic have been some of the most incredible buying opportunities.
So, with that insane level of fear as our backdrop, let's actually build the argument for why this could be a major bottom. What are the hard data points telling us that maybe, just maybe, the worst is behind us? Okay, let's tick the boxes for the bull case. First, as we just saw, we're in extreme fear. Check. Second, we have seen a massive washout, over $2.2 billion in liquidations. That's basically leveraged traders getting wiped out, and it cleans a lot of the speculation out of the market. Third, trading volume is through the roof, which is a classic sign of seller exhaustion. And then there's this weird one. The death cross, a pattern that's normally really bearish, has actually signaled local bottoms this cycle. You put all that together, and it builds a pretty compelling case. But hold on, it can't be that easy, right? It never is. To be balanced, we have to look at the other side of the coin. What's the argument that this isn't a bottom at all, but maybe just a beginning of something much worse?
And this chart, wow, this is a real reality check. When you zoom out and look at the huge bear markets of the past, the pain was so much worse. After the 2017 peak, Bitcoin crashed 84%. After 2021, 77%. Our 32% drop, as painful as it feels, frankly looks like a walk in the park compared to those. So the bears would argue there could be a lot more room to fall.
All right, so to really get a clearer picture, we need to go deeper. We need to look past the price charts and the sentiment scores and look under the hood, at the blockchain itself. On-chain data tells us what the smart money is actually doing. Now, before we jump in, you've got to know this term, long-term holders, LTHs. Think of these as the seasoned veterans, the smart money, the people who have held their Bitcoin for over 5 months and don't panic. What they're doing is a massive clue.
And this is where things get a little murky. The on-chain signals are kind of all over the place. For the bears, the long-term holders, they're still selling, which is not what you want to see at a bottom. And the miners are still mining away. No panic there. But on the other hand, we aren't seeing a flood of coins hitting exchanges, which means your average person isn't panic dumping. So the big takeaway, the on-chain data is basically shrugging its shoulders. It's not screaming buy the dip just yet.
Okay, we've seen the bull case, we've seen the bear case, and we've seen the kind of confusing on-chain data. So where does all of this leave us? Let's bring it all together and get to the final verdict from this analysis. So it all comes down to this single question. After weighing all the evidence, the fear, the history, the liquidations, the on-chain stuff, is this it?
The verdict from the analysis is clear, and the answer is no. This is not the absolute final once-in-a-cycle bottom. But, and you have to listen to this part because it's the most important takeaway of this whole thing, while it may not be the final low, the analysis says this is one of the absolute best risk-to-reward buying opportunities of this entire cycle. You see, there's a huge difference between a bottoming process and the final bottom.
So let's break that down nice and simple. Step 1, we are in a bottoming process, not the final pinpoint bottom. Step 2, all that fear and all those liquidations have almost certainly carved out a major local low right here, right now. But step 3, the ultimate, absolute final low for this whole cycle, well, that's probably coming much later, maybe even in 2026.
And that leaves us right here with the ultimate question. The data gives us a powerful roadmap. It suggests we are in a zone of maximum opportunity, even if the absolute floor is still somewhere out in the future. But every cycle has its own quirks. So the real question we all have to ask ourselves is, will this time be different? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And hey, if you want more deep dives just like this one, do us a huge favor and please subscribe, like, and share ValueVest Daily. It helps you get daily learning opportunities before you put your money to work. Oh, and one last thing. Please put in a comment if you want us to deep dive into any specific high-risk, high-reward opportunities. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.